Example 2, we're going to sketch the following function. We're going to sketch the given function. So you write, first of all, write solution to show that it's about to go down. Then from there, you determine the roots to this function. So how do you find the roots? By equating each factor to 0. So f of x has got factors x plus 2, x plus 2, x minus 3. These are the factors of this function. Then equate each one of them to x, to 0. Equal to 0, x plus 2 equal to 0, x minus 3 equal to 0. Then solve for those equations, those linear equations. The first equation, we find that x is equal to -2. The second, x is equal to -2. And the third, x is equal to +3. So these are your roots, or the points at which the graph cuts the x-axis. The next step is to find the y-intercept, or the point at which the graph cuts the y-axis, or passes through the y-axis. How do you find that? You let your x be equal to 0. Okay? And then substitute f of 0. What are you getting? 0 plus 2 squared, 0 minus 3. You're going to get minus 4 minus 3, which is a positive 12. Okay? So it cuts the y-axis at positive 12. The next thing now is to determine the actual graph. So when you write your or xy plane here, how is your graph looking like? Y and x. We have the coordinates, it's passing through -2 and +3. So this graph, okay, this graph might look like this, okay, or it might look like this, and then it goes down there, or it might look like this, or it might come from here and then proceeds down. It might look like this, okay. So how do you determine the actual nature of this graph? How do you determine the actual nature of this graph? So what you do is you run a test. You put your roots on the number line from -2 to 3. Okay? Then you determine the nature of the graph for values that are less than -2, for values between -2, the values of x and 3, and for the values of x more than 3 itself. We find whether the function will be positive or negative. When the function is negative, it means that the graph is below the x-axis. When the function is positive, it means that the graph is passing above the x-axis. So for values less than -2, you can pick -3 for your convenience. Then you put -3 there. -3 plus 2 squared, -3 minus 3. You're going to have minus -1 squared, -6. You're going to have positive 6. Okay? You find positive 6, which means the graph is positive. Positive. The value of y of the function is positive for values of x less than -2. So the graph passes above the x-axis. Okay, now check for the values between -1 and -2 and 3. You can just get 0 for your convenience and put 0 there. 0 plus 2 squared, 0 minus 3. You're going to have minus, okay, 4 minus 3. You're going to have positive 12. Okay, positive 12. So it is positive. So it continues to be above the x-axis, above the x-axis, above the x-axis. Now for the values now greater than 3, you can just pick 4. Okay, when x is equal to 4, you put minus 4 plus 2, 6 squared. Then this is 1. Find negative 36. This is negative. So negative to be below the x-axis. Okay. So now you draw your graph like this. So you have gone to this is still a rough graph. You're going to have negative 2 and you have your positive 3 there. So by the way, when you find two equal roots, like in our case, two equal roots, this one, negative 2 and negative 2, it means that the function will only touch at that point. Okay, it will only bounce at that point. That's the way it's bouncing right on that point. It won't pass through, it will just bounce on it. So in this case, as we saw, for values, okay, less than negative 2, it is the graph is above. So from here, the graph is above the x-axis. So it is coming like this, okay? Then it touches this point. Remember, when the points are, when we find two equal roots like negative 2, negative 2, the way we found in our case, it means the graph will just bounce on this point. So it will bounce like this. It won't pass through, to just bounce on it. Okay, and then it will hit the y-axis at this point at x is equal to 0, which is positive 4, positive 12, positive 12 to cut there. Okay, and then for the values uh, above the values above 3, values above 3, the graph is below the x-axis, so it should go like this. So naturally you can just connect these 2 points. So the graph has this shape. Okay, so now when you do the actual sketch now, because the graph is smooth, it's not made of straight lines. Okay, the actual sketch, you should have this shape where this is the negative 2 and this is your 3 and this is your 12. And this is your function f of x. Now, this sketch does not tell us about the minimum or the maximum value of this function. Okay, it only gives us this shape, the nature of the graph. Those are the only details that we can obtain from here. Thank you for watching.